stages. Tape reading is just the first stage. Then you got to do it with a demo and submit to the idea that the rules still have to be applied. But then with live fund trading, or the equivalent thereof, where you can lose something, your funded account, challenge account, your funded account, or your live account, you want
Hello? Alright,
to
there you
capture
go.
money. And the lack of
That
experience
should be
that you
good.
have, and everybody has that lack in the beginning. And all of you, and I was not exempt from this, I wanted to get through that stage quickly. I wanted to leave it behind me in my rear view mirror. I want to be able to say, yeah, see you later. I ain't never going back to that town again, which is ignorance, neophyte bill, beginner. Like, you want to be able to leave the ranks of a newbie. When I'm encouraging you to live there for a little while, because that's going to teach you who you are. And it's going to show you the character flaws that you have, that you're pretending you don't have, that you've been hiding from yourself your entire life. However long you've been on this spinning rock, all of you have character flaws. I don't hide mine. I don't hide it. I tell you where they are. I tell you where my weaknesses are. Because when I was a younger man, I tried to pretend they didn't exist. And they were impediments to me. They held me back. They were the barriers that I hugged. I held on to them. I held on to it like something wrapped in barbed wire. It's not comfortable, but you get used to that uncomfortable state, and it becomes normal for you. Like, that's why abusive relationships go on. Spouses that beat their wives because they're weak men. That women train themselves because they have children. They don't want to break that family up. They know what that man's doing to her is not right. But they allow it to go on because it becomes normal for them. And change is a little bit more scary because it begins to bring in more uncertainty. And as humans, we don't like uncertainty. But in this industry, you chose to be in one that is always uncertain. There's nothing 100%. All the things that I have, all the things that I share, my track record, when I pull it out and I point to something before it happens, look around. You've been walking with me now for, well, almost 2 years now, probably. How many things did I call and not happen? Very, very, very small number of them. But how many things were right and correct and where the market went to? You can't reasonably expect to be like that in the beginning. And when you learn from someone, when I was a martial artist, I wanted to be as good as the guy that was teaching me, and then better. That's what I wanted. Anything that they did that was impressive, I needed to do it better than them. Why? Because I had this deep ingrained necessity for me to be significant, because while I was growing up in Cardboard City, I was part of what we considered white trash. We lived in low income. And everybody, and I got in fistfights and stomped the shit out of people that thought they were better than me. I curb stomped people. You know what that is? Where you stomp their ass, you beat them. You drag them over to a curb, you open their mouth up with their teeth on the edge of the curb, and you stomp the back of their head. I've done that before. And the sound that makes, you'll never forget it. Those are things that I've done as a kid with people older than me because they talked down to me.
That's
They
cap.
acted like they were better than me. So what drives me, and still to today, is that deep scar. I was the guy on the other side of the tracks growing up. I didn't come into this world with a silver spoon in my ass. I didn't have that.
What?
Everything was a hard thing to do. And it
My
took a lot
city.
longer than I wanted it to do. And it was very difficult. I had a lot of opposition around me. People would try to tell me, you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to just, amount to the same thing we do. And then I went to school, and they tried to talk me out of that. And they said, you're not going to get good grades. And I got great grades. Constantly, the enemy constantly will work on you to try to discourage you. And if you're strong enough that you you have the motivation that keeps you going, when when you're finally there, he's really going to try because you've done it. You finally climbed to that moment where now you're going to see the proof. You're going to finally get that testimony you can hold on to and say, nobody can take this from me. And some of you are going to discover that that motivation that got you there, which is, everybody needs it. I'm not trying to discourage that that's not a good thing. It is a good thing. But there's an event, there's a phenomenon that takes place where once you're there, you can't handle the pressure and you throw out all the rules. You don't wait for the setup. You think that it's going to be stripped from you. You work so hard to get to this moment. Say, nobody can take this from me. And
I
some
felt like this.
are going to discover that that motivation that got you there, which is, everybody needs it. I'm not trying to discourage that that's not a good thing. It is a good thing. But there's an event, there's a phenomenon that takes place where once you're there, you can't handle the pressure.
Yeah.
And you throw out all the rules.
That's happened to me right now.
You don't wait for the setup. You think that it's going to be stripped from you. You work so hard to get to this moment. Now here's your first shot. The first shot to use the information that you've been studying. Now you can make gainful profits if it's correctly done. But you don't have the experience yet to lean on. And you see a sudden quick movement, which really isn't that much. Nothing's changed in the trade. But in your mind, because you're so keyed up, that motivation, you're hopped up.
Well,
You're
maybe
ready to
not
go.
this.
You're that guy that all your friends
Maybe
are
not
around.
like that.
Fight. When if they weren't there, you'd probably shake hands with the guy and say, you know what? Yeah, I apologize. Just gotta forgive me for saying what I said, did whatever I did to you. You can't do that now because they've incited that rage. You've become lustful for blood. You need to do this now. And something happens where that motivation becomes impulse. And you don't use your model and you press the button. As soon as the button is pressed, you're regretting it. Because now you just entered the uncertainty with no plan, no entry, no PDRA. You chase the price. And everything you've heard me say comes rushing into your brain and you're thinking, oh man, this is that thing he talked about. Now that trade seems like it's going to choke the life out of you. Maybe you start hyperventilating. You don't realize it yet. So you start feeling your fingers and your hands and your arms start tingling. All of a sudden you start feeling your heart palpitate. Feels like you can't breathe. Feels like there's no air in the room. It's hard to breathe. That's anxiety. Now you're feeling the effects of the adrenaline in your body, and you're standing still. It's like a Ferrari in neutral, running with the accelerating pedal to the floor. It's not good for the engine. And now you're worrying about what you're feeling bodily, and then cortisol is going to release. And that hormone makes you feel like you're going to die.
Oh.
Now, how can you be watching price, managing it, and what you should be doing, focusing on your model, if you think you're having a stroke or a heart attack or about to pass out or throw up? I've been there. I've been there, and I've been there while driving a truck over the Key Bridge in high winds, panicking because I'm watching my core track tell me that there's absolutely nothing I can do, and I'm nowhere near a payphone to get out. trade, you can't get out, and you can't move, and you lose your account that day because you thought you were smart enough not to use a stop loss. And Copper said, not today. That's the stuff that I lived through that. I did that stuff. There's a lot of people out there that'll tell you, this is where I made this much money, this is where I made this much money, this is where I made that much money, I did this, I did that, I did this. Nobody is comfortable telling you where they messed it up. They want to hide it. They want to delete it like it didn't happen. Most of my mentoring is telling you what it's going to be really like. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't pretend that I didn't come from humble beginnings where it was very hard, next to impossible, and I quit dozens of times. That's what I call it. But folks that's been around me for a while just know that doesn't mean I need a break. I need another job to get some money scratched up because I didn't have a lot of it. But that motivation that leads you to the dance and you're watching the charts, you got to guard your mind and really stick your heels in, dig them in deep and say, okay, yeah, that button's right there. I can push it. I can push that button. Any time I want to push that button, it's going to get me in the trade. But am I entering the trade based on my model with the logic in mind that I'm entering in the opposing direction of where I see the profit? So if I'm bullish, I got to be entering when prices drops. It's got to be dropping. If it doesn't drop, I'm chasing. I can't do that. You can't do that. When you do these types of trades and you're buying while markets are moving away from your expected directional draw or where your limit order to take profit or partials are, number one, you're going to overcome a lot of fear that most traders have because they have confirmation. Every trader out there goes through a stage of they need to have confirmation. They have to know that they're in the trade and they're on side. Then they're willing to give up a large portion of the first initial run. And then all of a sudden now they have courage. Oh, I know I'm right now. I'm really right now. And then they chase it. And now their stop loss has to be so much larger. And while they're in that trade, it might pan out. It might go exactly where they thought it was going to go originally and probably never have any drawdown. It might just, they're buying it and it just starts running and ripping away. That's really what they want. But you know what? When that happens, it's a terrible thing because it's teaching you to do bad things and expect good results. It don't make any sense, right? But you'll convince yourself at the time that this is what's right for you. In the absence and the void of any real experience, sound logic, you're going to create your own right there in the heat of the moment. And that motivation becomes impulse. And for those of you that have traded with real risk of losing something, not a demo, reset is the worst thing that can happen. I'm talking about you lost your funded account. You lost your combine that you were working hard for. Traded with real money. You know exactly what I'm talking about in the dozens of times that you've been here. You have to have a model. But before that model's useful to you, you have to know what prices like to do. What characteristics does it show? How does it behave in the morning? How does it behave in the afternoon? How does it behave in those respective sessions after a big up close day or down close day or an inside day? They're all characteristics that you need to study and associate with over a period of time. And you're not going to be able to do it in just a few short weeks or a couple months. It takes time. Some of you are just so willing to assume risk, hoping that you're right like a lottery win, that you throw all sound logic and reason out the window because you just want to have something to hang your hopes on. Because if you make a little bit of money, a little bit of money is better than what you were doing before, right? If I could just make $100 a week. Yeah, I can see that. In today's world, that means something. That might be your gas being covered for the week back and forth to work. Things are expensive. When I put gas in my truck, if I drive it a lot, it's very easy for me to go through $130 a week. 8 cylinders, they eat it. Now, I'm not thinking of how it would hurt the average person out there, it's a lot. I mean, that's the reason why there's a lot of cars or car lots up here that have these kind of trucks sitting in the car lot, in the used lot. They traded them in, they can't handle it. Too much expense. Same thing when they bought that vehicle. They were motivated because they saw their buddies have that truck. I gotta get a truck too. Everybody's driving trucks. And when they bought it, because they were impulsive, they're regretting it. They have buyer's remorse. You don't want your trading to have remorse. You want to have removed any doubt that you can justify anything outside yourself as a reason why you lost. And that went over your head right now, especially the ones that want to stuff at me. So I'm going to say it again real slow and painfully. Many of you, especially the ones that are beginning this, you're trying to do anything to get in and make money, but you're willing to ignore all sources of responsibility on yourself. But as a trader that is actively trying to pursue consistency and longevity, profitability, what you're trying to do while obtaining that as your goal, the way you get there is removing any excuse, any cause, any reason for you failing outside of your own model and your own experience. That's personal responsibility. And that's not taught in this industry. It's easy to be able to say, well, the markets are random. Well, they really shouldn't offer 15 contracts. If it really isn't good for us, they shouldn't let us do that. There's always excuses that the ones that are not prepared to be responsible, to be sound stewards of the money that they have in their hands and the risk that they associate with it. I'm not going to use a stop loss because I have a point to prove. Well done, maximum loss drawdown margin call. You proved a point. Everybody knew it, but you confirmed it. That's scar tissue. Now that's going to motivate you to do stupider things. Because now you're embarrassed. Because everybody saw what we already knew. Might not be that grand of scale of an embarrassment for you when you take your trade. It led you up to the charts. You're there. You got all the things figured out. And you impulsively predict and anticipate the setup forming, but you want to be ahead of it because you can't weather the impatience. It's agony. Oh man, what if it runs out? I sat here all this time. I did all that charting. I already told people I was going to be buying long, and they're going to be asking me for proof. Where's the receipts? Where'd you go long at? And I ain't going to have anything to show them. Oh my goodness, I don't care. I got to get in. There you go. There you go. You did everything wrong. I don't care if your analysis was good. I don't care if your lipstick on your chart was correct, if your drawing was correct, all that. Everything, you just shot at the shit with this entry. Because now your risk isn't appropriate. It's got to be larger now. You entered in the direction of the profit, which we don't do. But I said, yeah, I'm watching pyramid. Yep. And when I'm buying when it's going down. Every time. Think. Well, let me retract that. When I'm inside of a PD array, I can accumulate a new pyramid entry there too. But I have size behind me that's already layered when I take those types of trades. Otherwise, if I don't have that, I won't. For perfect example would be my breaker. Okay, say I'm bullish and I think price is going to go higher. I'll annotate the chart while I'm doing the trades, and you see me recording it. I'll annotate it as a bullish breaker, and I'm entering inside the breaker. It hasn't left it yet and come back and touched it. See, that's the part you know. That's the easy side of it. The hard part is knowing where the market's going to go and being confident that I can enter on the breaker. And if it comes back, then I'll buy it again and add more because I'll have more to lean on, trusting that it's going to go higher so I can add more to it. But if that's my first entry, and go on. Then I'll elect to wait for it to come back to the breaker. But if I've already bought, like I bought the sell side that the breaker ran down for, I'm buying below that previous low. Then when it goes up into what you would classically identify as a breaker, after it's moved above it and come back down touching it, I'm buying it in it before it breaks above it, before it's going to retrace back again and touch it. So there's a time, there's a reason for everything that I'm doing. I'm not just, pulling shit out of my ass just to say something or prove something that doesn't have any sound logic that I repeat over and over and over again. There's a logic behind what it is I'm doing. Everything that I do in my executions are systematic. I had to learn that through pain, loss, blowing accounts, losing lots of times. And every single time, guess what I had before it? Right before I lost the account, before I lost the trade, before I had remorse, I had motivation. I had confidence. But that confidence and that motivation was like that guy. You're standing there. You really don't want to fight this person. Not because you're afraid that they're going to kick your ass, but you don't want to fight that person. You really don't want to be like, it's not appropriate for you to be doing what you're being pushed into. And you have that circle of influence around you. Everybody's shouting, oh yeah, fight, 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 fight. When wisdom says, wait. If they want to swing on you, then you hit them in their fucking throat. Grab them by their ears, drive their nose into your fucking knee, drag them down to the ground, put your knee in the back of their fucking skull, and pound the shit out of them.
What?
You didn't ask for it, but you reciprocated it.
Hell no.
You invited them to walk away, they won't. Well, in trading, at that moment, especially for a young man, this is Sparta, bitch. I'm here now, and I don't need to wait for no setup. Front kick, boom. But you find out you're the one falling down. You're the one feeling that gut kick to the solar plexus, and you can't breathe now because you pushed the button. You can't take it back. You can't take it back. What does that mean? You know you shouldn't have entered there. Sound logic would be, all right, this is premature entry. Just close it right now and wait for the setup. But you won't. You won't. Because the thing that
Okay,
pushed you into that
I'm gonna do Friday,
is telling you right now, man,
and then I'm gonna look over my last 20 trades.
Please don't drop. Please don't drop. When it's so much less pain and suffering just to close the trade and then wait for the setup. You might have a little bit of drawdown and the commission cost you spent. Okay. But you have preserved your mental capital. The money that you're spending and potentially losing on that trade is insignificant in terms of the amount that you're going to carry mentally as a trader for the rest of your career by doing that silly shit. Think about it. How many times have you been in a trade where even if it went to the worst case scenario and ran all the way to wherever your stop would have been, notice I said that, but some of you aren't trading with a stop loss. What's the worst that's going to happen? That loss doesn't end you, but in your mind, you've lost a limb. You've lost your strong arm. How else could you ever go back into trading if you lose this trade? If I lose this trade, I can't imagine ever wanting to do this again. That's the equivalent of what you're doing. But where was the motivation that led you to that moment? Right when it came to the time where you push that button, it transforms into impulsiveness. That moment, right before you take your trade, you have to really, really know what you're doing. You have to know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it. And before you press the button to get into it, you have to know exactly where your static maximum risk is, and there must be a stop loss there. Because once you have that, see, you're trying to avoid that stop loss because you're afraid that it's going to hit it. Whereas a professional-minded trader, they want to know what that is so that way they don't worry about it. This is what I'm willing to lose. If I'm wrong, okay, I'm willing to take that as a loss. But you want to trade with the maximum leverage. So it makes perfect sense for you to try to avoid everything ever getting... You'll never get stopped out. You'll never get stopped out if you never use a stop loss.
Facts.
You know what that is? Head and ass syndrome. You can't see things properly. I'm sorry, I can't see it your perspective.
What?
I used to see it like that. This makes sense for you to try to out it. This is what I'm willing to lose. If I'm wrong, okay, I'm willing to take that as a loss. But you want to trade with the maximum leverage. So it makes perfect sense for you to try to avoid everything ever getting. You'll never get stopped out. You'll never get stopped out if you never use a stop loss. You know what that is? Head and ass syndrome. Your head's too far in your
That's
ass, so you
hilarious.
can't see things properly. I'm sorry, I can't see it your perspective.
Your head's up your
I
ass
used
and you
to
can't
see it
see
like
anything
that.
properly.
I went through that same thing. But I pulled my own head out of my own ass and started looking at things correctly. And some of you are fighting me on this. No, you don't get it, ICT. I'm different. I'm going to be the exception. No, you're not. You're just going to do it worse. But you'll never talk about it. You're never going to tell anybody what you did. When that would probably be the best thing for you. It disarms you. It makes you human. It proves that we're fallible. We're not infallible. Some of you think I'm infallible as a trader. Sometimes I don't do it right. Sometimes it doesn't work out where I want it to go. Like there's many instances where I told my son, so that I would like to see it do this, do this, do that, and there it is. And we sat together. And he's like, "Hey, but Dad, it did this, 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 and you entered there, and it didn't do what you thought. So how would I know that experience?" And some of you don't want to hear that answer. 30 years, folks. That's a long time to be looking at stuff that's doing the same stuff all the time. You get used to it. You know with confidence that that one trade that you're looking at right now, even if it fails, and the three after it fails, it doesn't change the efficacy of the model. It doesn't change you as the trader. It just means if you execute on them, you might have incurred loss. But are you allowing for and inviting those losing trades, those losses, to take you completely out of the model, completely away from trading, and or having the ability to be solvent to trade? It's amazing how traders that get so worked up chasing other people's bullshit online, these things that people promote falsely, they don't have any evidence that they can do it. They don't talk about it before it happens. They don't use a model or an approach that is applicable, or you can see you don't even see their executions. They just tell you this is a trade I took. And they're using the buy and sell overlay thing on TradingView. That's not even an entry with a demo. That's just, here's a trade I took. I think I got in around here. Listen to what they say. They tell on themselves. But they're selling mentorships. That's frustrating. For somebody that knows what the fuck's going on and have taught, man, I don't know how many people, but I've taught a lot of people for free. And it's my tolerance for it is gone. It's gone. And I don't try to influence all you in that respect. I mean, but if you're going to be trying to pay somebody for something, they better have the goods. They better be able to prove that they can do what they're claiming they can do, instead of talk about something unless I can try. But you all fall victim to that stuff. It's image-based stuff, materialistic stuff, and you resist sound logic, real money-making, money preservation insights. That I went through this stuff. I had to lose a lot of money to learn these lessons, and I'm trying to very much remove the necessity for you to go through that same stuff. And you don't want to listen. Like my own kids, they don't listen. You wonder why my own sons do the things that they do? The same reason why you ain't listening to me. Just because they have my DNA in them doesn't mean that they're gonna. Oh no, it's a symbiotic relationship. I'm ICT's offspring. It's whatever the main one says. All the ones like there's this relationship where whatever, it's a hive mentality. The word escapes me, but it's kind of like the show The Last of Us. The fungus, whatever one fungus feels or experiences, they all feel at the same time. It doesn't happen because they're my kids. They're discovering themselves too. And they're discovering that they're human. And guess what humans are? We're terrible decision makers. baseball bat and you chase it. What the hell is that? That's caveman mentality. That's not civilized. That's uncivilized. That's savagery. We're waiting for the mark to walk into the crosshairs, gently hug the trigger, and be confident that we have executed precisely what our model's expecting us to do. We will not second guess it because we've done everything up to the point of engagement and entry. Stop loss is there. We don't worry about it because we're comfortable with the risk. But if I'm honest, that means I could only really risk $75. Right. Exactly. That's why you're trading with a fucking micro. Okay? That's why you're doing that. It's not about how much you can make. It's how much you can afford to lose and still stay in the game while you're learning. For the folks that said you can't make money with a micro. Oh, you can't make money with a micro account. You got to have this and that and the other thing. You are not versed in math. You have no idea. Rudimentary math is escaping you. Because if you can have a model, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be my stuff. And I'll say it again. It doesn't have to be what I teach. It could be anything out there that causes you to have a decision. If you risk very little and you're very, very good at managing money and don't overtrade, you can be profitable doing this. You're going to have a lot of losing trades, and that might not sit well with some of you, most of you. In fact, 99.9% of you are a profitable student or trader with my stuff or something else. You might be just listening to this and not even a trader. You're like, I use a lot and I've made money and this, that, and other thing. Okay, you made money because you were able to weather the losing trades. But nobody wants to warm up to the idea that you're going to lose a lot in the beginning. You're trying to avoid that. When the whole secret is to do that very thing in the beginning. Because all the lessons that it teaches you removes the invitation for you to take that motivation and let it become impulse. If you have gone to the stage of now you're in that position where the trade that you're going to enter has a real risk of failing a funded account or drawing down in a funded account at Combine or losing real money in a live account, if you got to that point and if you have not overcome this worrisome thoughts of what am I really looking for? Where should I place my stop loss? Am I comfortable with what I'm risking here? Is that stop really hard? Is it there? Or is it implied or a mental stop? Because they don't work. Try to use a mental stop on a CPI. You're going to be mental afterwards. You're literally going to be warped. And a real stop loss doesn't work like either. So what does that teach you? Why do I even talk about CPI? If you're not going to trade ahead of CPI, why even talk about it? You get the guys that, this is where the volatility is. Okay, show me trading before the CPI. Getting it right. Crickets. And the ones that try get their asses handed to them in devastating fashion. That's embarrassing. And some of these people, most of them, that are doing those things are selling something of a course, a room, or they have their own brokerage. It's ludicrous to invite those instances in your trading. You want it to be boring. You want it to be where if you lose, who cares? I'm still going to do this same model on the next setup based on the logic. If the trade failed here, but the overall conditions of the marketplace are as they should be still, I'm going to take the next setup. There it is. It's done. All you have in my head, that's what I'm going to do. Unless I'm proven incorrect, and therefore I either need to move to the sidelines and wait for new information or reverse. But that's not always a reverse. In the beginning, that motivation, hey, I'm going to get in this trade, and you do it wrong, or if you get squeezed out of the trade because you don't have a stop loss, because you chase price, that pressure that you're feeling is going to make you think you got it wrong, and you'll abandon your model. And then what do? Become impulsive again and say, oh, I got it wrong. Not realizing that you just didn't do what you were supposed to do and wait for the setup. You'll reverse been waited for. So you did it wrong, chasing it. Then you're scared because it's retracing on you, and you reverse. And then the trade goes where you want it to go. But then here's where you lie to yourself. I knew this was going to happen, and the broker, they slipped me, and I had to. You're lying. You fucking changed the price. You did it incorrectly, and then you changed your mind because you couldn't handle the pressure of the retracement because you were misplaced. You weren't offside. You had a poor entry, poor execution. You did it poorly. You should have closed the trade, sat and waited for the setup, not make one decision incorrectly and then impulsively fix a mistake doing the opposite, where the analysis didn't say anything about that trade reversing and going lower. You succumb to your own emotions and poor psychology that's now being stirred up because you're in the market, you chased the price, and you didn't do anything, and you completely lost the plot. Uncomfortable, isn't it? It just happened to you this week, didn't it? Market went where you thought it was going to go, but you lost on your trade. I just picked it. How do I know?
What?
Because I did that when I was 20.
Pause. What?
I did it.
I don't know if you can hear the audio, but
some of it resulted in losing trade accounts entirely.
That's crazy.
Do you need to lose your trades in stunning fashion or blow your accounts to learn that lesson from me? I would have loved to have someone explain it to me like this. I would have never looked at them and said, "Wow, dude, you're talking about all this terrible stuff. Like, motivate me, man." I would have never done that. I would have been like, "You know what? This is exactly what I need to hear. You're not fluffing me up with some bullshit. You're not here promising me that I'm going to get rich overnight. You're giving me the things I have to concern myself with, that I'm going to have to wrestle with. These are the real things. These are the brass tacks of trading." And when you hear it, it feels like I'm talking down to you, or someone new. They come here, "Oh, I don't want to listen to this guy. He's talking down to his students." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm talking to you eye to eye. I'm coming to where you are because I've been there. I'm not talking down to you. I'm taking myself right back to the location where you're at right now and telling you, the guy that you look highly up on, and have high regard for now, I didn't get this insight, by having fucking candy bars shoved up my ass, okay? It hasn't been easy.
What the fuck?
It's literally a war. You have to go through a lot of stuff. And books just don't make it plain enough for you. Like, you have to go through it. And it's not easy. There is no shortcuts to it. It's all normal, though. And the way you get through it is to get through it. And how do you do it successfully? By not having a whole lot of results-oriented, progress in terms of a monetary sense. So remove that. Because if you can do one thing, that's your cookie cutter approach, that little thing that you do over and over and over again that repeats. What does that mean? Well, husbands, boyfriends, or those in the culinary arts, you go down to your kitchen, pull open the drawer that has all your cookie cutters in it. Just reach in there, grab one randomly. Doesn't matter which one it is. Okay, and you grab that cookie cutter in your hand. Close your eyes and then hold it in your hand and feel it. You know the shape. It's the star, or it's the snowman cookie cutter for Christmas. It might be the pumpkin, cookie cutter for a cutout for and Halloween's coming out and Thanksgiving. All those bends and contortions in the shape of that cookie cutter. You don't need to lay eyes on that. You just know it. You know intimately because you can feel it. You've seen it before. Why? Why are you comfortable if I was to ask you what you're holding? What cookie cutter is it? Because you've seen it before. You don't need to lay your eyes on it. You know, if you open your eyes up, it's going to be the very thing you just said. Why? Experience. But you didn't look at it. The same thing is what you're conditioning yourself to do with this price action. You know that this fair value gap is going to form. It's going to fucking form every single day between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Without fail. It will always be there. 100 fucking %. It's going to be there. You need not worry about it. It's going to fucking
God
be
damn.
there. I don't care if they're blowing shit up around the fucking world. I don't
What?
care if the fucking president gets fucking COVID-26. It doesn't fucking matter. This stuff is going to keep
COVID-26.
working. It's going to keep working every fucking week,
Okay.
every fucking day, and it won't
Now
fucking
I want to
stop.
look at my
But
recent
you're not
setups.
limiting yourself to doing just these things to prove it to yourself. I have literally taken you down to cities, minutes, and said, see if what I'm saying is bullshit or not. And guess what? It's there every fucking day.
Every fucking day.
Every day. London.
What I want to do is
New York session. Afternoon session.
I've been looking at liquidity recently because I've noticed a lot of the recent wins, which I have not taken.
You don't have any excuse why you shouldn't.
I don't know why I didn't take this one.
If
oh
you
yeah.
Miss it, if you get a
I didn't like
out,
the way it
doesn't
swept.
Work for that one setup, you did it wrong. You did it wrong. Guess what that means? You have an opportunity, maybe the same day, to correct it or study it and build your confidence back up.
But
you're taking motivation.
It had taken out a lot of liquidity too. Same with this one. You see this one, I had 2 losses this day.
5 or 6.
I lost here, I lost here, and then I could have went long again. I just didn't want to lose a third time. But the third time was the only time I had taken liquidity that it had been reaching for. So, and I was like, while in these trades, I knew that liquidity was there, but it's just not something I was looking at. So, like in my rules. But recently, I've just noticed this is a recurring thing. So I want to see over the last, like, so far this year, how has that impacted. Here, I felt really uncomfortable. I took this loss yesterday, and I felt really uncomfortable.
Like
I just took the trade because it was the trade. Like the setup was there. It wasn't this high. I was watching. It was this one right here. I should correct that.
It's not helping.
And I just wanted to trade really. But if I had been up and I had been winning recently and not missing setups, then I don't think I would have taken this. I would have woken up, seen the trend higher, and just been
you're in a session, it's probably going to go up there, but right now it's running in the direction of the
Here's another example. I didn't trade here because it's not within my rules, my current rules. No new week opening gap that I traded into, or no high impact news, so I didn't take it. But it had taken liquidity, like a significant higher time frame high, as it swept. So
it can color outside that fair value gap just a little bit.
And there's more losses too. Like there's a loss here, there's a loss here. I just didn't mark those down.
You're afraid that this thing that you're trying to do as a model is going to fail in your own hands. And you know that if it does, and you do everything that you think is correct, you're not going to stick with it. And you're going to start all over again chasing something else. And folks, I just nailed down 90% of you motherfuckers. You got just a little bit. But see, when you impulsively enter, what you're really doing, and this is the truth, folks, you're afraid that this thing that you're trying to do as a model is going to fail in your own hands. And you know that if it does, and you do everything that you think is correct, you're not going to stick with it. And you're going to start all over again chasing something else. And folks, I just nailed down 90% of you motherfuckers. You're afraid that this thing that you're trying to do as a model is going to fail in your own hands.
Yeah, it's me right now.
And you know that if it does, and you do everything that you think is correct, you're not going to stick with it. And you're going to start all over again chasing something else. And folks, I just nailed down 90% of you motherfuckers. You don't want to listen because you're afraid you're going to do it wrong. And then you're going to fault the model. You're going to fault the approach. And then you, because you're impulsive, you're going to go out there and chase Elliott waves. You're going to chase harmonic patterns.
What?
You're going to chase some other
This
bullshit.
is not a good setup at all. Oh my. I can't believe that. I don't know if I actually took that.
Because I did the same stupid shit. I've done the same stuff, folks. You have to change your
This is a questionable one. I remember watching this and I woke up late that morning, but I was on time to see this, and then I just seen, and it wasn't liking it. The only reason I'm marking this as a setup is because of 9:30 opened. So if you toggle regular trading hours, it's my setup.
That's not an
But
indication that you have Wednesday and Thursday and
liquidity
Friday
had
still to
been
trade.
taken.
Well, I got to push my edge into a dull,
Honestly,
blunt
though,
fucking edge.
this isn't the setup.
So many times I've seen students, and I've done this
This
before.
is just me trying to
You
cope.
go in there, you get a windfall victory in the beginning of the week.
This is a nice setup. It took liquidity.
You're like, man,
I think I took this trade.
I'm really good at this shit. I'm gonna go out there and
This is my last winning
I'm
trade.
gonna impress my wife. She's finally gonna realize this ain't a video
But
game. I'm gonna tell her what I'm gonna do over here, and boom, 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 and then there it is. You get back
liquidity's taken.
Or a third of it, or worse, all of it, and more.
Over here.
And you go into the weekend with a loss.
Another one of these large trends.
That sucks. That really sucks.
But there's not really any
if
liquidity
you showed
taken
everybody
because
online in the beginning of the week, here's what I made, here's what I made, and then they're like, progress report, where you at? MIA, baby, I ain't coming on. I got things to do. Radio silence. You're making it harder on yourself by doing that.
No liquidity.
So you have to weigh all these things out, and also provide no opportunity for them to be in the liquidity trade. So it becomes less of an impact adversely.
I think it's pretty clear. Like I've been watching price long enough to know
really,
that.
Really hard.
Like here,
what's hard is you are equating success.
Would have been a good lot. No. Here, if I would have waited for liquidity to be purged, then
think about it. As a business,
I mean, I wouldn't have had an entry because there's no fair value gap to enter on here. But
some kind of customer service for some.
Let's just say,
for the community
I don't know, like it wouldn't have been an entry anyway. But I would have avoided this loss.
It's raining, and usually landscaping company would be here today, but it's raining, so they're not able to make their money today. So I'll probably see them tomorrow. So they perform a function or a service for the community. If I say to this business owner or the employees of it, say, hey, listen, your weed eater is tearing up the pillar on my pool house.
This one's a questionable one because technically liquidity was taken earlier in the morning.
But if I say that,
the sweep.
The employee, he'll just nod his
head. No, liquidity is already taken.
And then say, okay, sorry,
kind of accumulated and swept it at 8 a.m.
And that's it. Nothing's going to happen. And unless he's the person that's using the weed eater each time, nothing's going to change.
Let me go back over.
But if I call the company,
the other setups,
speak to the owner and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on, and I just want to bring it to your attention. Can you make sure that this doesn't continue? Oh, absolutely, sir. I apologize. We're going to take care of it. Boom, boom. And once he's handled that situation and the conversation's over, he's not worrying about me the rest of the day. He's not worrying about losing his account with me. He's not worrying about, his future business. He's not going to start doing shit differently. He handles that matter right then and there, and it's without emotion. It's just business to him. He understands that not all customers are going to come in with a wonderful review. I could contact him and say, you're done. I'm going to use somebody else because this is what's going on. I just discovered it. But he's not going to stop becoming, or he's not going to stop running his landscaping company because I complained or maybe even drop them. That's not what he's going to do. Why? Because his fucking business model works. And I'm one transaction. I'm one source of a model. He knows if he comes to this property once a week and does this same thing, I will pay him. That's the result he's going to do. The same thing with your trading. You've got to treat it the same way. Not every single trade is going to yield the best review. The outcome is not going to be the favorable one. But does it take you out of reaching for that model or having faith in it being useful in the future? No, because it's just like that cookie cutter. You can't ask the cookie cutter to be a rolling pin. It's not its function. Just like you can't ask the silver bullet to be there, in times where it's not favorable for it.
Technically, yeah, liquidity is taken. Even if it doesn't go to the high of the day, this is still.
Or after 4 o'clock.
8 a.m. took out London, and then just ran over one more time. So this is still
there's no silver bullet between 4 p.m. and 5
But here,
but the
this is
moving.
still.
It's still ticking.
That structure was not taken.
There is no setup there. I would never look at that and say, this is a silver bullet. This is a fair value gap. I would sell short or go long in because of the timing of it. You're asking that model to exist in a time when it's not going to be there. Which is the equivalent of taking a cookie cutter and saying, I'm going to use it as a rolling pin. It won't work. It doesn't work. It's not a hammer. It's not a screwdriver. But you know that cookie cutter, if you lay it into dough, okay, you take that dough and you spread it across your counter, and you take that cookie cutter and you press it down into that dough that's rolled out. And you know when you lift that cookie cutter up slowly and you follow all the processes of rolling the dough out, taking the cookie cutter, pressing it down in, maybe slightly twisting it back and forth a little bit, and then slowly raising it up, you're going to have a cutout of that dough in the form of that cookie cutter. That's what your trading model is. That's what I'm teaching you to look at, that 5-point run, that 5-handle run in the S&P. Because if you can do this, if you can stick to the process of handling that cookie cutter, the fair value gap silver bullet that takes 5 points or 5 handles out of the marketplace, and you consistently are able to do that and nothing else, guess what you're doing? You're forging patience, you're forging real experience that no one can take away from you, and you're learning a lot about yourself, what you're going to be feeling. Are you feeling impulsive? Are you feeling impatient? The trade's not panning out fast enough for you? The way you go over that is by being in the marketplace, doing it. You have to engage it. And then you won't feel impulsive like, I just got in this trade 30 seconds ago. It should have already done 5 handles by now. I know what it feels like. You want it to be painless, and I'm telling you, it's going to be painful. But it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile doing it. It's got an outcome that is worth doing. That is not 100% success. But that less than 100% success rate equates to your success ultimately. But you're trying to avoid any losing. You're trying to avoid any kind of hardships or any kind of embarrassments or discoveries about yourself. And you want to not fail using it because you're weak. You're undisciplined. You have no sense of self-responsibility. And you know yourself well enough that if you fail using the model based on the rules, you're going to associate that one failure with it's ultimately sucks, it's fraud, and I'm never going to be able to do it, and I have to justify things outside myself, hold myself to no accountability, and I'll have to chase something else, and I don't want to do all that again. That's the reality, folks. This is actually going to be a chapter in the book, but I wanted to say it. I wanted to say these things. Because reading it in the words, it's easy to just like, okay, I saw the letters there. I saw the spaces between the words, but I really didn't take anything from that. It's just filler. It's fluff. But this is the real shit, folks. This is what really goes on when you're pressing the button and it matters. This is the stuff that goes on through your thoughts, what you're wrestling with, what you're pretending isn't there. But in reality, this is really what it is. If I would have titled this Twitter space, all the shit that's causing you to lose and how it's going to continue doing it, you probably wouldn't want to watch it. Probably wouldn't want to listen to it. Because you need to be you need to be around somebody like a Tony Robbins who wants to tickle your ass with a feather and say, hey, everything's going to be great. You're a success story in the making. Everything's great for you. You're not going to fail. Never accept failure because it's never going to happen for you. Get the fuck out of here. This guy used to be a fucking janitor, okay? And sold all kinds of bullshit, blowing smoke up people's asses. Walking on coals. Yeah, you can walk on coals. Stand on the fucking coals. Then you're going to impress me. It's fucking physics. But people see that shit like, wow, it's fucking something.
Bro, I can't. I need better reception. Hold on, real quick. I'll be back. merchants. Can you believe somebody sent me one of their tax account numbers finishing with the wrong one, but it was a typo. I thought he sent me the import number instead of the federal sales tax number. stop the stream now.